morning, Justin Equine Edge. Thanks for joining. Way back at the fairgrounds. I mentioned this yesterday. If you weren't here, I am going to cover Pegasus for Equine Edge. So if you're Equine Edge user, I'll start putting notes in this evening. I've been handicapping, but I'll start putting notes in this evening, and then we will do I will do a Pegasus video tomorrow. So watch for that for Gulfstream Park. No Gulfstream today though. We'll stick with the fairgrounds. What did yesterday? I think I had 4 on top winners. We didn't miss that G5. The second single didn't hit, but I wish I had a little bit stronger opinion. I hit 3 straight winners off of that 6 horse in race 4, but I did bet that was the win, and that was it. I didn't really play much yesterday, but it was kind of an interesting card. I redid my grid. We had a couple scratches. I scratched in the first race. Let's jump in and we'll get through this. We'll watch the race. And I think Vegas Star, my worry with Vegas Star is that this horse is going to show all this speed. And I don't know if we'll clear. I worry a little bit this horse duels and sets some upper actions. And Vegas Star is my third pick. I put Dual Guru on top with the 8. I thought the picks had this race cornered. I have 483. I thought maybe the 4 was a single, but I ultimately wasn't quite sure. So I do think the 3 might fade, though. The race in might have this perfect, honestly. 8, a big price. You might get a nice exacted there. I have 483, so I thought the picks had it pretty nailed. And again, I think the 3 might just get softened up. Again, take a lot of money, but this horse might get over bet. So that's my thoughts on race 1. Race 2, I cut one. I have few vulnerable favorites on the card. I think the 2 vulnerable, Romeo Spikes. We'll talk about this horse. I think the 1 got a shot. I think a shot, and I think the 8 has a shot. And Romeo Spikes has speed. They're sprinting here. GSRs are close. Race are all close. Is the top pick. Is 42%, but I don't worry as much about that when you have these other runners with these close. I mean, it's very competitive, I thought, in this race. Wins the racing, but I personally am not a fan of betting the money like this. And so, when I say burn money, it's versus an easier strength of Bryce. These are 44 SORs. And this horse lost as the favorite at 41 and 28%. And not only lost as a favorite, lost by 7 lengths here. It's an easier race than this race today. It's just a 46. So I honestly thought that this is wide open. So I wouldn't even use the 2 in horizontals. I toss it, it'd be 158, but I try to beat the 2 horse in this race. I don't think has to win. You look at I Got Hint, lightly raced, Shane Castile comes out of a tougher race and ran second in that race. And versus this horse hit the board in 6 and can't win versus easier. By time Jose having great meat, leading rider, crushing. And it's such a pickle, a bit at a price. So I try to beat the 2 there. I don't think Mardi Gras and Empire Lock, not a single for me. I'd be spread here. I think Corporate Ball, Paco, he might get loose. He might run him off their feet on the turf. I mean, if he doesn't, Mardi Gras got shot. But I think Yorktown Painter got a shot too. Single shot, McZ, very much underneath, deep spread, in my opinion. They put the running, but I think this race wide open on the turf. I think many could win. I'm not all in on Mardi Gras Empire. I think a lot of these could run on. I talked about the 7, the 10, and the others, the 1, 2, 3. So I'm not trusting Mardi Gras Empire. I know wins here, but I would use. I don't think it's a vulnerable favorite. I just don't have a huge trust as a single on the turf here. Disclaimer for 25. Does Converse similar? You'll see my notes here for Equine Edge user. Jose rides for Jade for the first time. He gets aboard. But Yorktown Painter actually dropping for Alexis Clare and Ben Curtis. Gets over to the turf, the GSR, the genetic strength rating, or surface and distance metrics is just fine. I mean, I know this horse doesn't run on the racing, but comes from tougher. and stretches out here to 7.5. Always kind of a tricky distance. So again, I talked about Paco. This horse might get loose. He got loose on the turf back here in versus 48 and faded, but Paco gets aboard. He wasn't aboard one of these days, and it wouldn't surprise me if this horse, I mean, that's a big pace advantage of 20 points. And so it's race him say one thing, pace number kind of say another, but we talk about the pace figure a lot. It's so good at predicting the pace. Pulls away here a bit at 2. I mean, keeps a 2-length lead. So Paco, I think, gets loose. So gonna be tough. It's a tough race in race 3. Not strong opinion, but I'd be spread. I mean, everybody's saying Betty Davis. I went back and forth. There's others. If the one falters, if anything happens to the one, the horse don't break, whatever, the 4 run them off their feet. But you can imagine that Betty Davis is fine. That was like a 6 or 7 month layoff last out. And ultimately she romped. And she romped on racing. It would be my early single. It is chalk. She comes back second time. Sorry, I got that short. She went by 7 lengths again. She faced this group last out on January 2nd. They all faced each other. And she just ran him off. The 4 couldn't get, was not in that race. Sorry, the 4 was not in that race. But is, I guess, the difference here. It is going to have other speed. But Betty Davis, came from that drop and beat the 2 and 3 by an easy 5 lengths. If anything happened, this race could be all wonky. The only other single was the 4 in race 1 for me. If you don't want a single here, but it's illogical. Wins easy, second time off the massive drop. She obviously had problems for them to give up and went on a 7-month layoff, but she handled this group pretty easily last out. She'd probably do it again. Race 5, second vulnerable single. I don't trust Mackenzie's Glory. Just not a great horse. There is a lot of speed here, though. So, but I think the 1 could sit the trip. I think the 5 could sit the trip. The 4 and 8 are both long shots, in my opinion. I'm trying to beat the 6, though. A couple vulnerable favorites in the early sequence. This could be a really weird sequence. You know what I mean? You find your spot because it could pay well because there's some chalks that are losing, in my opinion. You can see the 1, 4, 5 all kind of sit off and close, but they back up to 6. But I talk about this a lot for Equine Edge. Anytime you don't like a favorite, just cut it from the race sim. And the 1 and 5, the 2 picks are right there. The 4 and 8 might be a little bit of long shots, but you look at the 6, Mackenzie's Glory. She had all types of chances for Kenny. It's just not a great racehorse, right? She needs to drop. She ran in a 46 at Toga and closed. This is a 40. She's 14-point SOR drop, so she's taking a big drop out of me, special weight last out. So she fits. But they on the turf, the fairgrounds turf, tough, right? Sunday Slipper going to sit a Dream Trip, lightly raced for Brandon Walsh, ran in 40 and 42s and ran third, nearly won last out at Fairgrounds, going 7.5, stretch out to 8. Should have, appreciate the added ground. Going to be live 100% for Ben Curtis. We talked about him a little bit ago. So, and then the long shot, I thought the 5 horse had a look, comes from Tougher, didn't run there, but ran 2 back for Brinkman, second off the layoff, ran a good race at Delaware, and again, gets another half furlong. The Apprentice Son of Ray ride, he has 7%. Could be a price. So, but I'm 1, 5, 4, 8, trying to beat the 6. So, I honestly, I only had a couple bets. I don't think I'm gonna play the horizontals today. I don't know. I just don't have a strong opinion, but the 7 at top pick here, but it's a very head scratcher to me, which this race then kind of creates a head scratcher. I did put the 2 on top. The 8 scratched to actually like, so that was kind of a bummer. But Finster, I put on top. You probably take a lot of money and end up being the favorite. Sponge Bath, I think, can run on from the inside. Might be in the mix late, right?
But kind of a tough claimer. I was 2-1-3-7, but not super strong opinion. But the 2 would be illogical for me with the 8 scratch because I like the 2 and 8. So that would be an area to potentially key late. But I just don't have that strong opinion. My strongest opinion actually come in the last race. It'll probably be one of the only bets I do today.
And you might do a daily double here. So we'll do 2 more. We'll do this in the last race. This is a good race because it's a fun race to handicap because many of these horses have been facing each other.
So I always like those types of situations because you can watch some past races and you can see what happened in those races. I think Golden Bandit gonna have other speed. Busy Channel beat that horse last out, and some of these others, and then Summer and Adrian, and I can't remember who else. We'll have to look. Actually, came from a different race. So Busy Channel win the race. Sim Ravelli off the claim from Joe Sharp, who only had that horse on the trainer switch once. And Busy Channel was in the 10 post and was racing with Golden Bandit last out. Golden Bandit was on the lead and gave it up to Busy Channel. Busy Channel, just a hard knocking 10-year-old. 10 wins in 50 races. Sat off the pace. I think there's other speed because Tahoe Run should show speed here. I think we'll show speed in this race, and I think can inject some pace. I don't think the 9 just get away. You can see I caught a couple others. Summer and Adrian came out of that January 2nd race in race 3. These others came out of race 5, which is a 58, 15,000 claimer. This was a 30,000 claimer, so it was actually a tougher race. I think there's more speed. I think the 6, I put on top, Summer and Adrian. But Busy Channel, just a hard knocker. It was my second pick. And the long shot I thought was a little bit live here if the pace fall part was flow. You're not getting a lot of mounts, but he's riding here at Fairgrounds for Schreier. 0 for 16, though. But, this I thought that there was a little more speed with in this race that it really could set up for Summer Adrian, who didn't have a ton of speed here in this 8.5. So second off the layoff, I put on top, thought had a good look. But a Busy Channel could be tough.
Last race. So another good one. You have horses that were all facing each other. It's a state bred maiden special. I have a little Central on top, but I do think that there'll be a lot more speed here also in this race. Everybody knows I don't like to play outside posts like this. I think it's about 4% at the meet from the 9 post outside. 6 horse AG's Charlie showed a lot of speed sprinting last out with Here Thunder. So they show up in this race.
Here Thunder, January 3rd, sprinted, ran on. AG's Charlie also sprinted. Swiss had a lot of trouble from the inside, and the apprentice goes, I think the 6 sending. And I think the 6 going to press. We see is right here. The 9 going to be on the lead, but the 6 going to press. I think the 6 going to be close with James Mudd, the apprentice, and inject some pace here. And I think that will help Venu, who didn't have enough speed last out. But Venu faced Aiden's Edge, ran on for 3rd, but Venu, or Vana, however you pronounce it, Jose Calhoun, lightly raced, comes right back. This race tougher for State Bred, going to show up. But I think it's a better pace today. But Little Central, the newcomer, coming off the turf a little bit versus this group, I think could run a better race. I do like the 1-6 exacta here. That is probably one of the bets I will play today. I'd just be too deep in the last race of spreading. I think you have opportunity maybe to play the pick 5 and pick 6 today. And not going to pay a lot unless you can beat Betty Davis in race 4. But that'd be my strongest opinion, really. Not a ton today. But I do think that this race will set up for the 1 and 7 stalking. You see they're both there, and it comes 7-1-9. I love it. I like that exacta. I mean, we'll probably get 8-1, 10-1, maybe. 2 could run on the try, 9 might hang around, but I think there's better pace today, and I think the 1 can save ground going 8, and I think the 7's obviously live.
All right, y'all. That's all I got. Great card.
We will be back tomorrow. We'll do Fairgrounds as well, but we will have the Gulfstream Pegasus card too. I'll do 2 separate videos to split them up, but good luck. Press your opinion today.
Good card.
pretty competitive, I would say. Chat soon.